Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls slash JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Allison.
Today we're going to be starting to talk about season 2 of the Powerpuff Girls. Our episodes today are Stuck Up, Up and Away, and Schoolhouse Rocked. So I'm going to get into it and start talking about Stuck Up, Up and Away. Princess Morbucks is a new student at Hope Yokes. She's introduced in the limo by asking for lunch money, an exorbitant amount of lunch money that is, and she's still unsatisfied with the amount she's given. Miss Keene introduces her to the class and she very snobbily turns away all the other children's attempts to play with her. She's introduced to the class hamster Twiggy and insults her by calling her a smelly, mangy little rat. This distresses Twiggy so much that she breaks her little hamster wheel, which causes a screw to be loosened and for her to fall out of her cage. Blossom calls on Buttercup to use her laser eye beams to melt the cage before it can break. Blossom and Bubbles execute a fastball special to catch Twiggy, which I think is probably reference to the fastball special that they always do in X-Men, where like Colossus or somebody like picks up Wolverine and just like tosses him back in the face. The children all cheer, and even Princess is amazed by their powers. She insists she's going to be the newest Powerpuff Girl, but Blossom and Co. tell her that she can't be a Powerpuff Girl because they're not accepting new members, and she doesn't have any powers. You can't just buy superpowers, says Buttercup. Well, yeah, tell that to Batman, she says. Princess goes home and whines to her dad that all the other kids were mean to her. They were not. And that she needs money to be a Powerpuff Girl, and he gives her a fat stack of cash. Princess makes a grand entrance at school the next day in her crown and yellow PPG outfit and declares herself to be the newest and best loved Powerpuff Girl of all time, which pisses Buttercup off. Blossom tries to explain to her why she can't join them when the hotline rings and the girls are called to stop a robbery. Princess follows them with her new jetpack. First through the wall of the bank, and the robbers shoot at them, but they're bulletproof and therefore unharmed. As they're about to apprehend the criminals, Princess bursts in with her jetpack and all her fancy new gadgets, all of which fail to catch the criminals. Princess manages to knock herself out of the sky by hitting a ceiling tile with her grappling hook and knocking it down. Because of her shenanigans, the robbers get away and plan to bomb on Princess before they leave. The girls are able to dispose of the bomb, much to the delight of the citizens of Townsville. Buttercup yells at Princess, and Blossom tries to explain to her that because of her lack of powers and experience, it's best that she leave the superheroics to the real superheroes. Princess is pissed, and when she returns home, she whines to her dad and tells him it's all his fault. Powerpuff Girls wouldn't let her be one because he's so cheap, and he gives her a big-ass briefcase full of cash so she can buy a better suit. The next day at school, Princess makes her entrance by blowing a huge hole in the wall in her new shiny yellow gold armor. She's pissed at the girls and gives them a speech about humiliating her and turning everyone against her. I'll never was forever to instantly love me like they love you, she says. Then she says if she can't be a Powerpuff Girl, no one can. They're about to fight when Miss Keene interrupts to explain to Princess that there's no fighting in class. Princess apologizes and they take their fight outside. Buttercup lunges at her. Princess not only dodges all her attacks, but knocks her to the ground, causing a big rut in the ground. Bubbles is next as she shoots laser eye beams at Princess, but her suit deflects them. Bubbles then unleashes a supersonic scream, but Princess uses a force field of some kind to block it. Then Princess tases her with a beam from her crown, and a scorched Bubbles falls to the ground. Princess gloats about her victory and mocks Blossom, who only stares. Princess, annoyed with Blossom's silence, shoots another taser thingy from her crown. Blossom dodges by merely tilting her head, which is pretty badass. Blossom dodges each of Princess's attacks and is able to easily wail on her. They are but a flash of light as they fight. The other two girls come out of unconsciousness and help Blossom finish Princess off, and then using her ice breath, Blossom deals a mighty blow to Princess, hitting a weak spot in her armor and shattering it. Princess whines and begs to be a Powerpuff Girl, but Blossom says she's too spoiled and bratty and that being a Powerpuff Girl isn't about always getting your way, that Princess is not worthy of the name Powerpuff. And then the cops hold her off, which does seem a little extreme for a kindergartner. So some trivia. This is Princess's first appearance in the show outside of the theme song. The first outfit she appears in is based on Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's also the first appearance of Twiggy the hamster and the first use of Bubbles' supersonic scream. We do see Twiggy later on. I can only think of one other episode, but anyways. Blossom's fight with Princess is based on a famous fight from Dragon Ball Z in a training sequence with Piccolo and Gohan. And the episode title comes from a pun on a song called Up, Up, and Away by the Fifth Dimension.
Or like, you've heard up, up, and away, but then also stuck up. They kind of push those two together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always have to say these two episodes were originally broadcast June 25th, 1999. Princess Morbucks was voiced by Jennifer Hale, who also does Miss Keen and Sedusa. And outside of the Powerpuff Girls, she voiced Commander Shepard in Mask.
We love us a Mass Effect. Jennifer Hale is just too powerful with her range.
I think it's that she even won an award for playing Commander Shepard.
This does not surprise me. She's the better Commander Shepard. No offense to Dude Shep, but she totally is.
It also said these two episodes were the first to premiere during Cartoon Network's Cartoon Fridays programming block. And the bank robber uses a line from the A-Team. I love it when a plan comes together. I don't know if I have anything else to say other than, well, I might have more things to say. Daddy Morbucks, we don't see his face the whole time. Like he's putting with, playing golf a little bit, and kind of like, what's her name, the assistant to the mayor?
Ms. Bell.
We don't see his face.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure, does he talk?
No, he just gives her money.
I mean, she probably talks enough for the both of them.
Yeah.
And I just I feel like these two episodes have more story to them than we saw in season 1. I feel like if this had been a season 1 episode, that once Princess had been turned away the first time, that would have maybe been the end of the story. There wouldn't have been her coming back with a second, even better suit. I don't know. I like the more story so far this season.
Yeah.
So episode 2 is called Schoolhouse Rocked, and that's a play on like that show Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
And like Elvis's Jailhouse Rock, maybe. So at the beginning, we see the Gangrene Gang are at an arcade and they're playing a game with Bubbles fighting Fuzzy Lumpkins. A truant officer stops them. His name is Jack Wednesday, which it's just sort of weird that he just shows up there, but okay.
Like ninja.
He stops them and takes them to join the Powerpuff Girls in kindergarten, even though they are teens. Most of them, or at least I think 3 of them, are taller than Miss Keen herself.
Yeah.
But they're in kindergarten. I guess it's because they've never been to school, so he's starting them. It's almost like, what is that, Billy Madison?
Yes.
Where he has to start at the beginning. So Mr. Wednesday, he's square-jawed. He's in a trench coat and fedora. I mean, he looks more like a detective than a truant officer. I mean, he could have been in a better, if he's trying to sneak up on teens, actually not look like a square while he's in the arcade.
It is a very conspicuous outfit.
The girls are alarmed because they recognize them as the Gangrene Gang and try to tell Miss Keen they are bad guys. But Ace pleads that they're there to learn. Ace helps pass out a snack of cookies, but drops and steps on them. I think he spits on one also.
Yes.
They dump milk on some of the students and smash a cookie in another student's face. The girls want to kick some butt, but Miss Keen reminds them of the no fighting rule. So we saw that in the first episode. They can't fight inside. They move on to show and tell. Grumper shows how he can contort himself to look totally different. Billy lifts his hair to show he has only one eye. So the kids are completely terrified by these 2 presentations. Arturo shows his pocket knife, Maria. The girls jump to action, but the knife turns out to just be a comb. At craft time, the gang throws huge globs of paste at the students like a snowball fight. Miss Keen is oblivious until the girls fight back. She says she is disappointed in them and makes them stay inside during recess for a timeout. The Gangrene Gang play some overpowered dodgeball and injure all of the students. Miss Keen is again oblivious until a window is broken. She gives the girls permission to play dodgeball. Wink, wink. She cheers them on as they play a very violent game with the Gangrene Gang. Then the truant officer shows back up. He's upset with Miss Keene at the Gangrene Gang's treatment, saying she doesn't do a good job at her job. And then when he turns away, Miss Keene hits him in the head with the dodgeball. And that's the end of the episode. She just says, don't turn your back during a game of dodgeball.
Yeah, so I don't really have any trivia for the episode, kind of like my observations. So when the Gangrene Gang go to find Grubber in the arcade, he's riding on a mechanical horse near a screen with a live action black and white cowboy movie of some kind. It's maybe, I'm not sure if it's like the first use of like a live action scene in there, because I think like sometimes in him's lair, like the area around him, sometimes they'll use like little live action scenes that stood out to me. I'm not sure what movie it's from. I don't think it says on the Wikipedia or anything. Of course, it's absolutely wild that they would send these teenagers to kindergarten. So that kind of makes me curious what high school is like in Townsville, but we don't see anything outside of the kindergarten because the girls actually are kindergarten age. And, well, I guess this is technically true. It's sort of trivia that the Gangrene Gang, 3 out of 5 of them are introduced by their like government names. Snake is Sanford D. Ingleberry. Big Billy is William W. Williams. His parents must have been so creative. And Arturo is Arturo de la Guerra, which is kind of like a pun on like the art of war. Grubber and Ace are still introduced as Grubber and Ace.
I feel like they would have been known like in the juvie circles.
Yeah, one would think.
Like, have they not ever been picked up before? Because they seem like the cops would have had their eye on them. So I'm again, I like you said, I'm not sure why they just sent them to kindergarten. And then even the girls identify them as the Gangrene Gang, and Miss Keene just blows it off. Like she should have called the principal or called the truant officer back. Like, come get these guys.
They're literally a whole gang. Like maybe it might have made slightly more sense to me if they just sent like one of them to the kindergarten. Like Billy, maybe?
One of the smaller ones.
Yeah. Like maybe they confused him as being younger.
Arturo's kind of short too.
Yeah, he's the smallest. And then the girls from there are like, he's part of the Gangrene Gang. And then Miss King's like, I don't see any gang here. It's just one guy. I don't know.
Yeah, just even their sizes. Like I said, at least 3 of them were taller than Miss Keene. That should have sent up alarms in her mind right there.
Yeah.
I thought that, I don't know, I think it's like, I'm not sure what that show was, where John Travolta is like in high school. And I thought Ace, at least when he was first introduced, sort of sounded like John Travolta on that show. I don't know if it's Welcome Back, Cotter.
I know Welcome Back, Cotter, but I don't know who's on there. I just know the name.
And then I have that Mr. Jack Wednesday was voiced by Greg Berger, I think, but I'm not sure who else he normally
Familiar with Mr. Berger
voices.
Yeah. And then the full name of I wrote it down. Maria Conchita Teresa Rosalita is the name of Arturo's calm, and his dad gave it to him before he was sent to jail.
There's an actress, her name's Maria Conchita Alonso, and I'm assuming that they're just making fun of that.
Yeah, that might be. I was wondering if it was like a reference to something, but I couldn't like find it.
It could be the people that did the wiki are just unaware of her existence, but
that is possible, yeah.
Let me see.
And he calls his dad Papi Macho Arturo, so I guess he's a junior.
She's Cuban.
Yeah.
Totally sure what she was in. I know we're like I'm going off on a tangent here. A beauty pageant title holder who represented Venezuela in Miss World 1975. That could just be why they don't know.
Yeah, because
I feel like she was in some stuff. Okay, Kiss of a Spider Woman. She did some Broadway. So more like that side of Hollywood. Because sometimes those actors aren't as well known as like movie and TV stars.
And I also thought it was like interesting because I think this is the only time any of the Gangrene Gang's parents are like referenced too. Like I think the only parent that we know of amongst the five of them is Arturo's dad.
So we know his dad went to jail.
Yeah.
I was just saying too, like, again, Miss Keene could probably have called someone instead of just having the Powerpuff Girls beat them up because they are strong. But they did some really mean things to the kids in the classroom and then out on the field outside really beat them up. Like little kids, like 5 and 6 year olds.
Yeah, and they're probably like 15 or 17 or something.
The one kid I think they showed was in like a full body cast at the end. So
poor little booger.
In this case, we're kind of like this probably was a just punishment for them, unlike Princess being taken away by the cops when she in cuffs. They threw her in the back of the paddy wagon and drove off with her. Like that would not happen to a kindergartner. I know it's a cartoon, but they should have just called up her dad or something. But
I truly also just thought it was BS that Miss Keene was like, no, it doesn't matter who started it. It was bad enough that you fought back. Like, no, it does matter who started it unless they did like a second much worse thing.
Yeah.
And they were just like dealing out what they were given with the paint, not paint fight, the glue fight.
And we don't see Princess Morbucks in this episode, even though it's mostly shown in, I think it's all in the kindergarten.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can just pretend that she still has been attending, but I could see her like just begging her dad all the time to skip or, they've jet setted to Paris or something crazy. And that's why she wasn't there that day for the Gangrene Gang.
Or maybe she gets sent to like another, like a fancy private kindergarten or something.
I guess she could still be in jail.
That too. I mean, she broke things and then she fought the girls. So I'm not sure what they get her for other than maybe destruction of property.
Yeah, and the girls are like bursting through walls left and right anyway.
Yes.
So, I mean, I know usually they're trying to save the day, but the adults didn't really jump in for Princess's shenanigans until the end. Like, someone maybe should have stepped forward and said, like, you can't just keep buying these ever more powerful suits and trying to stop criminals. I know they're letting the Powerpuff Girls do it, but it is kind of vigilante stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure she's super concerned about people doing bad things. It's just kind of like she was copying what the Powerpuff Girls were doing.
Yeah, she just wanted to be one because they were cool or whatever. She's like, wow, everyone loves them, so then they must love me too. Dare someone else get more attention than I?
She should never have insulted the hamster.
How dare she insult Twiggy, that monster?
It was rude.
Twiggy, she's just a little creature. Right, so I think that is the end of our discussion. I believe the next two episodes we're going to be talking about are Collector and Supervillain. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it said next on the DVD menu. I usually like to write down in my notes first, but I forgot. So I think that's what we're going to be talking about next week. But yeah, if you've been enjoying the podcast, if you enjoy hearing about both Powerpuff Girls and JoJo, if you think, you might have a friend who would enjoy JoJo or Powerpuff Girls or both, maybe stick them on our podcast. Let them listen to the show.
We could really use some ratings on, especially I think Apple. I'm not sure which ones allow ratings, but that would allow it to be shown to more people, I think.
Yeah.
And
we'd love some feedback.
Do we want to say about the new podcast?
we can.
Okay.
And this will be out probably before this episode here airs, but we do have another new podcast. If you're more into listening to us talk about vampires, we have a new podcast about what we do in the shadows called What We Pod in the Shadows. And we're discussing the 6th and final season of What We Do in the Shadows. And then we're going to go back and discuss the first 5 seasons after we're done with this. We've talked about the first 2 episodes of the new season. We're probably going to, after next week's episode, just talk about an episode a week. But the season premiere was 3 episodes, so we put 2 in one, and then we'll put the other one with next week's episode.
So we're gonna release those within a week of the new episodes dropping for the most part. But then when we go back to start at the beginning to get the first 1 through 5 episodes, we might have a little gap there, maybe a month, as we record for season 1 episodes will be released.
Yeah. We also post episodes of MoJo's Bizarre Adventure and What We Pod in the Shadows on YouTube as well. On my channel, you should find that under Raven-Agent of Mischief, which is all one word. And we have episodes on there too, sans intro. But if you prefer YouTube, you can get on there, subscribe to the channel with some likes and comments. We'd really appreciate that as well. And until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.